So everybody, thanks so much for listening to Fire Breathing Rob. We have a special guest on today, but before we even get into the interview, if you could please like, subscribe, and share this interview on whatever platform you're listening to us on, we greatly appreciate it. Again, like, subscribe, and share. We have amazing guests on that are telling amazing stories. Today we have on Kim Sorrelle. She does have a book coming out on November 23rd of this year, 2021, and it's called Love Is. So we're going to be talking about that book and a lot of other stuff that Kim's really been involved in throughout her whole life. So Kim, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Rob. I've so been looking forward to this. And so thank you so much for having me on.
Right. So Kim, for the people that don't know about you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I live in Michigan, up in the north, in the cold. I started my first business as an entrepreneur when I was 18 years old, started with my family. And so I've been in business my whole life. I own a few businesses. I run a nonprofit organization. I've been involved in nonprofit work for a long time. I'm a mother and a grandmother. And so I've written a couple books. So that's me.
So you do have, obviously, Love Is, which is coming out on November 23rd. And you do have that other book about Cry Until You Laugh. Before we get into Love Is, since you did bring up that book, can you talk about that a little bit just so we can publicize that also?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So in September of 2008, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which is a devastating diagnosis, cancer of any kind. And I went to the bookstore and everything was either very depressing or very medical. And I thought, I just want to see what happens. What choices do I need to make? What does it feel like? What is it really like? So I started writing first, really as a way to keep my family and friends informed. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. I'm having this test, whatever it happens to be. And, but my writing turned into much more than that. And before I knew it, 5,000 people were reading my emails. It was 2008, so email was the way. And so people went on my cancer journey with me. And then 4 months after I was diagnosed with breast cancer, my husband of almost 29 years was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and passed away 6 weeks later. And I was writing, of course, then during that time. And so Cry Until You Laugh basically is all the journey that I went through, the journaling of it from when I was diagnosed through a little bit more than a year, figuring out how to be alone in this world, figuring out, how to get through cancer, going from someone who's cared for to a caretaker. It's just a lot. It's called Cry Until You Laugh because I think I'm funny. Sometimes my grandkids don't think I'm that funny, but most of the time they think I'm pretty funny. So it's, it's the true story. It's, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I guess. And then my last, the very last bit of it, I needed to decide what I was going to do with my life. If I was going to go back and run businesses, if I was going to go back and run a nonprofit. And I decided I was going to breathe for a second. And I took a job as part-time bookkeeper of a nonprofit organization that my father and I started years ago. And starting on January 1. So clean books, whatever. Well, 12 days later, there was an earthquake in Haiti that killed 200,000 people. Right. And so 2 weeks after that, I was in Haiti. And my part-time bookkeeping job went to 7 days a week, full out. I ended up I'm the executive director now of that organization, but I spent the next several years in Haiti. But so anyway, I kind of got off track. So that's what my book is, and that's where my book ends, is when I started going to Haiti.
What is love for you?
Love for me changed dramatically when I decided to write this book. I wondered what love is, and you go again to the bookstore. I like to read, and there's no manual, right? I mean, you learn how to love from your parents, your grandparents, people in your life, people as you grow. That's where you learn what love is. And some of what we're taught isn't true. And so I think a lot of relationships can struggle because they don't necessarily know what love is. So I decided I was going to figure this thing out. You know, it's universal. It's a big topic. So I decided to take a year. I was going to dedicate a full year to just working on this, figuring out what is the true meaning of love. And I took this old poem, this 2,000-year-old poem that you hear at a lot of weddings, that you kind of, your eyes glaze over because you hear it so much, you know, whatever, but love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast, et cetera, et cetera. And take it one word at a time. And my first thought was I would take one word a month and figure out what it is. And then, you know, move on to the next word. Well, there's 14 words and there's 12 months in a year, but it did take me longer than a year. I think I'm a little bit of a slow learner. Took me longer for some words than others, but I did that. And so my book is, by the way, delayed like everything else with COVID. So it's December 7 now, but it's available for pre-buy now. But December 7 is actually my new launch date. I just found out. So it was very eye-opening though, very, very interesting though. So the way the book is, it's not a unicorn and rainbow love, you know, smoochy, whatever book. It is the down and dirty of what I was going through. So I kind of start out with what I think love is patient is. Yeah. And then, you know, give an example, a story in my life, and then how I discover the truth of what love is patient is, which is always 100% different than I think it's going to be going in. I think I know them all and learned that I did not. And so it's stories in Haiti or wherever I happen to be at the time, somewhere in the third world. And it's the real stories of what I went through. So some crazy things like getting chased by a motorcycle gang over the Dominican border and sleeping outside on the ground with tarantulas and snakes and listening to voodoo drums. I mean, whatever happened to be where I learned the different things.
How would you change millennials' minds about love in general? Because, you know, even you go to the dating websites, it's some people do well and some people don't. There's a lot of vulgarity and perverted things on there from men and women. So, you know, what should, I guess, love be for a millennial? I guess should be what I'm asking you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think it's a really simple answer and a really long answer at the same time. So the simple answer is not what you think it is, first of all. You know, for years, people get married and they go, well, you know, it's 50-50 in the relationship, or it's 100-100, you know, whatever that is, because I thought 100% was a total. But, you know, people will tell you there's give and take, and that's what love is. Well, love is really one-sided. Like you should love no matter what the other person, whether you get love back or not. Giving love is not just an emotion, but it's walking and talking. It's alive. It's breathing. It's an action. It's all encompassing. It's a way of life. It is a complete and utter freedom, because when you love the way you're supposed to, and you just love without judgment and without a them and us, without political parties having anything to do with it, or vaxxing or not vaxxing having anything that has nothing to do with love. You know, that's on other people. And if you just love the right way, it gives you the freedom to not care so much, or not realize it's not your issue. If you disagree with somebody, you can disagree with somebody and still love them. You can not like them and still love them, but you walk in it. I don't know how great of an answer that is, actually, nice. But it's what you do. Love is something you do, rather than love based on what somebody else is doing.
Kim Sorrelle here on Fire Breathing Rob. Again, the book is Love Is. It'll be coming out on December 7th of 2021. What is your opinion on the divorce rate being so high? And do you believe it's some sort of other issue, or is it the communication and trust?
Well, communication and trust, Rob, you're absolutely right. I mean, that really important stuff, of course, very important. But I think the divorce rate is so high because we're selfish people.
Mm-hmm.
And if we feel like we're not getting what we're giving, or we're not getting enough out of it, or we're, somehow missing out, sometimes it's the grass is greener, right? Over the septic tank, as Irma Bombeck said. But, sometimes it's the allure of some sort of fantasy love. But when you realize that love is not about what you get, but the magic of it, the beauty of it is when you give and walk in real love, it's contagious. The person you're with can't help but love you back and treat you differently. So I think a lot of it is that we have these weird expectations, right? Because of movies and stuff. So we think our marriage is going to be, I don't know, something out of the 50s, the Cleavers, Beaver's parents, and June's just going to wear pearls and, do her housework in high heels, or I don't know, whatever our idea of love is. But it's about no expectations, not having expectations. And certainly that doesn't mean you stick around in an abusive relationship. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you don't want a relationship that you are loved as well as giving love, but it happens naturally when you first take responsibility for your own love.
Mm-hmm. No, great answer. I just think of it, maybe this is more not of a love aspect, more of a dating aspect, that if I'm with a girl as a girlfriend or a wife, or, I'm not married, but if I had a wife and I was with her and there was something that she maybe yelled and screamed, hooted and hollered, did something regardless that I didn't like, if I don't go up and communicate that to her and I just say, well, I can go and see Sally down the street and have sex with her and she'd be great, it doesn't do anything. It's almost like a passive aggressive thing that I'm just not communicating it to her. I'm just going, like you said, for the grass is greener on the other side. So I guess that's where I was kind of getting with that. So I'm not sure if I agree with what you said though, but I guess that's just where I was coming from.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. If you feel like you're being treated bad, or,
Right.
a lot of times, like, I'm not a yeller. If I yell, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I get to that point, something is wrong. Like, I need to back off. Like, something has gone bad.
Sure.
And I don't want to get yelled at. But arguments can escalate, right? And you're going to have those no matter what. You're going to have disagreements. But with real love, there are ways, there are tools to keep it down so that it doesn't get to this point where your blood pressure is soaring and your head is pounding. And because what happens too is pretty soon, it's not even about whatever thing is going on right now, which typically is a small thing that you forget about before too long. But there's some things really worth kind of arguing over, making sure you're on the same page. But pretty soon then you're going, and by the way, last Tuesday when you said, and 6 months ago when you did that thing, stuff that you've maybe already hashed out, but it comes back, it comes back, it comes back. Well, one of the phrases in the old poem is, love doesn't keep a record of wrongs. And so, what does that even mean, right? And so I can tell you the story of how I figured it out if you want me to.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a phone call from these gentlemen out of Missouri, pastors mostly, who I was working on a water project in Haiti. And they asked if I would go with them to Haiti to introduce them to this project, something they were interested in doing. I'm like, oh, sure, no problem. So 8 men. And then I brought along 2 Haitian friends to translate. So there were 10 men and me. And their church partner over in Haiti had arranged for our accommodations. So we go to this remote area, and the building is behind a cement wall, and it's 2 rooms. And there are 2 bedrooms. That's the only inside space, 2 bedrooms with 4 twin-size beds in each room. So accommodations for 8, but we brought along a couple cots, and I'm thinking we're fine. And it's so hot in Haiti, you only go in there to sleep. That's the only reason you go in the room. So we get there, we're unpacking, and the head guy from Missouri pulls me aside. Kim, can I talk to you? I'm like, sure, whatever. And he said, did you see the rooms? And I'm thinking, oh, geez, he's going to think as the only woman, I'm going to want my own room. And where's everybody going to sleep? So I'm going to say, oh, gosh, I don't care if other people sleep in my room. First, I'm going to say, oh, it's okay, I'll sleep outside. And he'll go, no. If anybody should sleep inside, it should be you. And then I'll say, well, I don't care if there's other people in my room. I'm cool with that, whatever. And then he'll say, oh, okay, good. And it'll all work out. So I said, it's okay, I'll sleep outside. And he said, good. Oh, good. Because I didn't know what we were going to do. And I'm thinking, oh my word. So I'm looking around trying to figure out where it is that I'm going to sleep outside, and it's too hot in a truck, the bed of a truck. What if it rains? I didn't know where I was going to sleep. I saw this piece of plywood that was sort of over 2 workhorses kind of. I thought, well, if I sleep under that, then that'll be okay. Then I'll be all right. Because if it rains, at least I'm underneath something. So we did bring a blow-up mattress that I discovered the first night holds air for about an hour. And then I'm on gravel. And my worry was that something would crawl on me, during the night, right? And that I would jerk and get bit by something that, with venom, and have to be airlifted off the island, whatever, to save my life. I didn't know, what was going to happen. And there are tarantulas or snakes, I'm not fond of either one of those. And so the night progresses, and I'm thinking about, oh my goodness, this is where I'm going to sleep. And he pulls me aside again. Kim, did you see the showers? And I said, yes, because there's nothing there. There's a room, this building with 2 rooms, there's a latrine, and then there's about a 4-foot wall that's the shower. So there's a 5-gallon bucket of water that you use. You get your water out of a 55-gallon drum, and then you use the water in the 5-gallon bucket to shower, basically. And he said, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to shower last. And I went, oh. And he said, yeah, we'll let you know when you can go in, because I'd hate for you to walk in on anybody. And I'm thinking, everybody here is over 4 foot tall. I would see if they were in the shower, and I'm not going to walk in. Like, I don't know what this guy thought, if I was hot to trot, or, I was going to, whatever, take advantage of somebody, one of these old pastors. I don't know what he thought. But anyway, so I'm like, fine. And I'm thinking the only thing left is the latrine. And sure enough, that's where he goes. And by the way, the latrine, we'll let you know when you can go in case they don't lock the door. Oh, great. Okay. That's fine. Whatever I can do. So the first night I'm in bed, and there's dogs barking, and there's horns honking, and it's loud. And I'm laying on my back thinking that's the quickest way to get up and run if something crawls on me, but yet I'm going to stay real still so I don't get bit. And so the first night, it's loud. Finally, I fall asleep, and then the voodoo drums start.
Jeez.
In the distance, and probably 2 a.m. and the voodoo drums are going. And then I'm hearing animal sacrifice. That was one of the ugliest things I've ever heard in my life. And then finally the voodoo drums stop, and then the sun starts coming up, basically. I mean, it wasn't a lot of sleep, but, dozed off again. Well, the second night, as I'm praying, please, nothing crawl on me. Same thing, the horns, the dogs, the voodoo drums. Finally, I get some rest, and I woke up because there was something on my leg.
Oh.
I thought, oh, what could this possibly be? There's something on my leg, and I didn't want to jerk. And so I slowly raised my head and opened my eyes, and it was a chicken A dang chicken landed on my leg. And I didn't know whether to be relieved that it wasn't some big, chupacabra or something, or whether to be mad at this chicken for waking me up and the little bit of sleep that I would get. I shooed it away. And a couple nights later, I had the same experience. Something was on my leg. And again, it was the dang chicken. A second time, the chicken's on my leg for whatever silly reason. Well, I got through it. It was just 5 nights, I can sleep anywhere. And it was a great project and they wanted to get involved. And since then, they've installed thousands of water filters for people in Haiti, which is all great. And so not keeping a record of wrongs, right? So in a relationship, it's easy to keep a record. And those things come back, like I said, when you argue, and those things come back. And what I found out is love doesn't keep a record of wrongs is we don't forget. We don't forget the bad things that people have done to us. We don't forget being wronged, right? We don't forget those things, but we change the narrative. Like with my story, at first I was bitter. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Where's chivalry, right? Like,
Yeah,
would
you ain't kidding.
you let a woman sleep outside like that? You wouldn't do that.
That's kind of, yeah. Especially this guy is supposed to be a pastor. These people, I don't know what kind of pastors they were, but anyways.
Right. And so, so I was bitter and then went through this process and realized I'm no longer bitter. That's gone. Now it's just a funny story to me. I don't forget the story. I know that it happened, but it's no longer harboring resentment or bitterness, which is good for me. They didn't know I was bitter. It's good for me. It's freeing for me to release that and just go, it's just something that happened to me. And now I can sleep anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Just make sure you don't go on a trip with that group again.
Right.
If you do, you stay in a separate area.
Exactly.
Wow. That's terrible though. Honestly, that men, woman, whoever, I know it was all men, but regardless, I mean, it's just sad people would act like that. Like who gives, if you're in those kind of conditions at the end of the day, who gives a crap? You know what I mean? Like if the woman is in the bed, if the man is in the bed, how much clothes this person, who cares? Like you're in this this area. It's, I don't know. That's just me.
Right. But it was a great lesson for me, honestly, to not hang on to that bitterness, because love doesn't keep a record of wrongs. Love does not hang on to that story as a horrible story, just something that happened in life instead.
So I do want you to talk about that humanitarian organization you guys started. And also afterwards, I mean, I know you did tell that story about Haiti, and I know you worked in the Dominican too. It must have been really tragic to see, even, hearing about the story you just told us, seeing all that poverty. And, I think of these things, and we really, as Americans, don't really know how lucky we are to even have some of these things, just as simple as plumbing in general. So I guess if we could just talk about the humanitarian organization first, and then we'll divulge into the Haiti and Dominican Republican poverty experiences.
Sure. Yeah. So the organization, we're a partnering organization. So we work with people in their own country that understand the culture, understand the language and the real need, that have a passion, a vision to help people in their own country. So like they want to build a school, because education is so important, or they want to help with a water project, right? Or medical care is scarce. So they want to set up a medical clinic, something to really help people. And they just need somebody to walk alongside, to help them with some seed money, help them with a plan, a business plan, help them with eventually a plan for self-sustainability, so that they're not always chasing dollars, but they're actually just able to have the school or the medical clinic. And so we do that. And then we also have some of our own schools and medical clinics and water projects that we run as well.
Okay. So going into these places like Haiti and the Dominican Republic, I know, as we just said, you told that story. Can you tell, I mean, you said you were run down by a motorcycle gang in the Dominican. So if you want to even go into that and divulge some information on that, that would be grateful.
Yeah. Oh my word. It was the craziest time. It was, we were crossing the border from Haiti to the Dominican Republic. My Creole is minimal. My Spanish is minimal. My French is non-existent. And so going from language to language, and you're always told going through the border, and I've gone through the border before, always told, don't stop, don't stop on the Haitian side, go right through. The Haitian office is on the other side. People will try to stop you. They'll try to flag you down. So we're in this big truck that we had to drive over to Santo Domingo, and we had to bring it back. And so we're going through, and here's the Haitian side, and people are trying to wave us down. And I'm like, no, just go. We get on the other side, and come to find out they moved the office, and we were supposed to stop on the Haitian side. Well, this lake that was there was flooded. We drove through this very tall water to even get there. Fortunately, we were in a truck. It was nice and high. So this Dominican guy who spoke English came over and said, you have to take your passports back there. Well, we had all these tools, everything we needed to guard in our truck. So I was with two men from the US, two friends of mine. And so one of the guys stayed with the truck. This Dominican man arranged for 2 motorcycles, 3, because he went 2, to take us back over to the Haitian side, get our stamps on that side, and come back over. So it was going to be $5 US for the 3 motorcycles, take us across, and then bring us back. We got across, things happened, whatever. It took quite a while, but we got there, got back, and it was time to pay the motorcycles. And all of a sudden they wanted a whole lot more money. And since I've traveled to Haiti so many times, and Dominican Republic and Burkina Faso and Kenya and other places, I know that you can get taken advantage of in so many ways. And so I'm like, no, we agreed on a price. That's why we agreed on a price ahead of time. Here's your $5. And they were kind of throwing a fit. And I said, this is what we agreed to. So here's your $5. I walked away. We went and got our passport stamped on the Dominican side. We get in the truck and start to drive away. And all of a sudden stones are being thrown at us, and not stones, rocks, like big rocks somebody's just whipping them our way. And we've got one guy in the back and open guarding our stuff in this truck. 2 of us are in the front, and the guy in the back's yelling, go faster. And we're on this dirt road. And so my friend that's driving, puts the pedal to the metal, drives faster. And so then these motorcycles start chasing us. Not just the 3 guys that thought they needed more money, but there were like 12 motorcycles chasing us through these streets, and we're turning corners. It was like our driver was like Mario Andretti. It was the craziest thing. We're driving as fast as we can, and they're following us. And I'm thinking, if they catch us, what is going to happen? I don't even know. It's not like I can give them $10 and they're going to walk away. Like, I didn't even know what was going to happen. Anyway, they chased us for quite a while and eventually got tired of it. But it was a very interesting, pretty scary moment, I gotta say. Lots of adrenaline pumping, and yeah, it was a fun time. I should have just given them the money, but.
So there's no security though, then, pretty much on these trips?
No.
Wow.
Right. When I'm in Haiti, I have friends that are policemen.
Okay.
And so I hire security for when I'm in Haiti. But we were driving over to the Dominican. Like, I didn't feel like I needed security with us. I thought I knew the way, thought I knew a lot more than I did. It was all going to be okay and whatever. So, yeah.
So, Kim, have you been to Haiti since? I know they have a real big problem now with the government. Obviously, there was the assassination on the president of Haiti. Now I guess you can correct me if I'm wrong, because you may know more about this than me, but the head of the Supreme Court was supposed to take over, and apparently he didn't. Now there's just some other guy that took over. So have you been over since that happened? If you go over there, are you kind of scared because, who knows what the hell is going on in the country? Plus, I believe there's been some hurricanes that have hit Haiti pretty hard. I think there was an earthquake recently that also hit it hard. So
right, there was an earthquake. Yeah,
it's been in turmoil. Go ahead.
Yeah, it has. It's been in total turmoil. Haiti is a tough place to go anyway. It's the toughest place I ever travel. It's the hardest place to work in. It's the hardest place to go. It's the average Haitian lives on less than $2 a day. There are mud pies that are served in schools for lunch. They actually take mud and they mix a little oil and a little salt in it, and they dry them in the sun. And there are some schools out in the country that's what the kids eat for lunch. It's a desperate place where it's about surviving. There are some extremely wealthy people, and then there's extreme poverty and not a lot in between. So yeah, so now Haiti really hasn't had a good government for years. And it was a dictatorship. And then, there was a coup, and then they have their independence, but they did the president was assassinated, then this earthquake, that there are so many displaced people. And because of all this other turmoil, all the political stuff and gangs taking over in so many areas and gangs taking over the main roads, because of all of that, the focus has not been on all these people that are sleeping literally out in the rain because their homes have been destroyed, their farms have been destroyed, their animals killed with the earthquake. So many people died, so many people displaced, schools destroyed, churches destroyed, and there's no focus on that. The earthquake in 2010, the one that you remember so well, and everybody remembers so well, CNN was there for months, if not years. Fox News was there for months. And so you saw all this reporting, and now people forgot that it even happened. We just yesterday actually sent over from the Dominican Republic. I've got a Dominican son. And so he met my friend that I work with in Haiti, and a couple of policemen and a couple other guys at the border, because we bought a whole bunch of stuff in the Dominican Republic, tarps, so that people don't have to sleep in the rain or be out in the hot sun, along with food, rice and beans and things that are really hard to get in Haiti right now and people have no money for. So we had this huge truckload of stuff that today is being delivered out in the Lakai area where the earthquake was. But not a lot is happening for these people. And I have not been there. The reason I haven't gone, I would go in a heartbeat. It's killing me to not be there. But anybody I would be with, I would put their life in jeopardy. If you have fair skin, it's automatically assumed you're rich, which anyone listening to this, you are rich. I mean, when we're throwing away rotten tomatoes from our refrigerator, right? And we're throwing away food, and people in the average Haitian eats 3 meals a week, we're rich. We're all rich. And so I'm a kidnap waiting to happen. So anybody that I would be with would be in the same boat, and I just can't put people in danger. I know a lot of people in Haiti, so I can do work from here much more effectively.
So as we end the interview, what do you hope people get out of this interview in general, and also the book in general?
Well, I think one thing is don't travel with those pastors from Missouri, but just those. I'm sure all the other pastors in Missouri are the greatest people ever in the history of the world, and these guys too were great people. Oh, don't get me wrong. I love them all. They were wonderful men and doing wonderful things, whatever. But what I hope happens is I hope that people can learn about what real love is and embrace that and figure out how to bring that into their own life and their own relationships, and not just a marriage or a couple relationships, but, if you're a Democrat, you don't have to hate Republicans.
Right.
Or if you're a Republican, you don't have to hate Democrats. Like, I don't know why we lump all people together, this whole party, everybody's bad. No, there's good in everybody. Like, tear down those political walls. Stop on Facebook unfriending people. If you disagree with them, you disagree with them. You don't have to rant. You can be the bigger person, I guess. You can have the bigger love. You don't have to engage in the stuff that brings you down. It brings you down, right? And it destroys relationships. Why destroy relationships? Life is short. Like we should enjoy each other, and everybody's got something to offer. And so recognize that and love people where they're at and for who they are.
Well, I agree with you. And just a side note on the politics stuff, I am very progressive. I have friends that are very right wing. We get along like peanut butter and jelly. We have a good time while we argue. It's not this flicking people off or wanting to hurt them. So I have friends like that, and we have a good time. So I guess what I'm trying to get at it with is, like you said, you shouldn't judge people just because they believe in one thing or another. Try to come where they are. Ask them why they believe in stuff. Ask them why they like this stuff or why they don't. And then you can try to find more about them as a person rather than just to tear them apart, because there's a reason why they believe in stuff, whether they're for Biden, Trump, Bernie Sanders, or whoever the heck they're for. They believe in these people, or they like these politicians, or sports, whatever it may be, for some reason. So come to where they are, try to learn that. That's how I feel like if you're like that, you become more intelligent, you become more open-minded in general. So that's what I'll agree with you on. So Kim, where can people find more about the book, get it, also find more about you in general?
Well, I do have a website.
Mhm.
Kim Sorrelle, my last name has way too many letters, but I'm the only Kim Sorrelle in the world because nobody else spells it this way, but Sorrelle, 2 E's, 2 R's, 2 L's. It's ridiculous, but also loveis.info takes you to my website. So I do have a website. I've got a Facebook page. My book is available now for pre-order at any major bookseller, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, you name it, it's available. And so, I think really it's hard to talk so much about it. Rob, you put it so beautifully. Like what you just wrapped up with a minute ago about how you are with your friends, that's love. That is love, because your love is open. Like we should be open-hearted as well as open-minded, right? And realize that a person is who they are. Like every day you've lived leads you to today.
Mhm.
So every day you've lived has influenced something in your life. Like you said, find out where people are coming from, because you don't know.
Yeah.
Even if you're in the grocery store and somebody rams you with a cart, instead of getting angry, maybe they just lost somebody. Maybe they just had some tragedy in their life. What's the point in getting angry? Just love people. So I love your attitude, Rob. We're kindred spirits.
All right. No, I appreciate it. If you get angry, it just makes you die quick. That's the way I think of it. I'm trying to work on this too anyway, so I'm not God or Jesus Christ. I'm trying to work on this as being a better, less angry person, as we all are. So we're all in the same boat together. But I agree with you, Kim. And Kim, I really appreciate having you on. It's meant a lot. Let's definitely do this again. Again, if you want the book, like Kim said, you can order it or you can get it on December 7th. It's Love Is, Kim Sorrelle. Again, Sorrelle.
2 R's,
Again,
Sorrelle. Sorry. Yeah.
no. I spelled it wrong on my end. I'm sorry about that. So
No problem.
we'll cut that out. Again, Kim Sorrelle, it comes out on December 7th, but you can pre-order it. It's Sorrelle. Definitely check it out. Love Is, all your bookstores, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, wherever books are sold, Books a Million, even the local bookstores get those in there too. So, Kim, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate this.
Rob, this has been a fantastic experience. I love your podcast anyway, and to be on it, it's such an honor. Thank you so much.
All right, awesome.